Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this evening's SHE file and SHE system reselling open session and Q&A that we're going to conduct this evening. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Please, if you've expected to come to a training session, this is not a training session. This is basically just me going to share some of the options that are available or what we are trying to assist others with, especially those that are sitting at home and also those that are looking at making some additional income for themselves. So I'm going to start the presentation. It's a brief presentation and a bit of discussion, and then we're going to go straight into some open discussions and Q&A as well, anybody that has any questions. All right, so let me just stop my video. Excuse me. Okay, so once again, good evening, everybody. Thank you for all the attendees. Appreciate the time that you've spent this evening now. So I'm going to try and keep it as short as possible. I have scheduled it for an hour, but if we can finish it a bit earlier, it will also be good. All right, so let's see how things go. So in a nutshell, let me just explain before I go into some of the information. The idea behind this was that I've been identifying that there's a lot of people that have been sitting at home that do not have work. There's also a lot of people that are working, but they're also earning very small salaries due to the COVID situation that everybody knows has had an impact on the industry at large. Even myself, it's a bit of a struggle at the moment now just to find some decent work. So the idea behind it was to assist personnel that are looking at making some money, so that could possibly support their families as well from the business that they could do to offer to other customers or clients, and just to see how we can assist each other within the industry. Many of you guys know me as well from HSE Connection Point. That we've been trying to assist fellow safety professionals within the industry for quite a few years now. So this is what the intention was all about, was to try and see how we can help other safety professionals that would like to be able to earn a salary from consulting, whether it be from safety files or whether it be from assisting with systems as well. Okay, so you know the old saying, give a person a fish and they eat for the day, teach a person to fish and they eat for a lifetime. So that is what I'm trying to do with this process. Please, if I can just ask, you can put your mics on mute, please. Tumi, can you please just mute your mic? Okay, so what basically what you're seeing on the screen here now is the samples of the two files that we have available. On the left hand side is the 23-point SHE file with all the relevant information covering you for the SHE plans, the organization charts, all legal appointments, etc. And that goes right up until policies. So this is the standard SHE file that I've been providing to companies for many years now. Majority of these, I've actually never had any comebacks on any of these files that I have been doing for companies. On the right hand side is the 27-point SHE file. Many of you guys that would have been familiar with SASL would identify this file on the right hand side, with this index, excuse me, on the right hand side, which is basically the 27-point SHE file, which is a very, very intricate file. It is one of the most difficult files that you can get approved from a client. The SHE specialists are quite stringent when it comes to approving these files. So yeah, and as I said as well, I've also had quite a lot of positive feedback on my files that I've compiled for SASL or Group Technology, SASTech at the time. and the files are definitely top class that you would be receiving if you are going to take up what I'm offering. So in a nutshell, the explanation that I have is that this is just an example of the SHE file guidance that I give when I'm conducting my SHE file training. This is just an overview of some of the information that I cover as to what you would need to do to compile a professional SHE file as far as the physicality part of it is concerned, with the file dividers, etc. And then obviously, this is the explanations of the relevant information that will be shared during the training. So the training that I offer is a full day training. I normally do it over a weekend, Saturday or Sunday. It's quite an intense training of information that I share with examples as well of all the relevant aspects of the SHE files in order for you to compile a professional SHE file, and also how to review a professional SHE file as well. So this is all part of the training that I cover. So this is based on the 27-point SHE file of Cecil's, which I cover within the one-day training or the full-day training. Okay, so what is this offering that I'm currently discussing with you guys? What does it come with, and what does it cost, etc.? I'm sure many of you guys are asking. So firstly, I say that you need to attend the professional development of a client SHE file training, especially if you're new to SHE file development. It's something that comes with the experience through the years as well. If you've been doing SHE files for many years, especially reviewing SHE files, you become a lot more experienced in the development of these SHE files. So with the full day training that I offer, I go, as I said, quite into in depth. I also allow for questions and answers through the process as well, so that everybody has a chance to ask any questions that they may have with regards to the SHE file development. And then in that training, I also provide a sample of a SHE file, which is all PDF documents that I provide to all the learners as well, to give them a clear understanding as to what the documentation entails, what are the requirements. I cover a lot on the legal side of things as well. Why do we need to compile a file? What are the legal criteria when compiling a file? And then I also cover aspects of like your SHE plan development. How is a SHE plan developed? What does it develop from with regards to a client SHE specification, and all of that relevant information that is shared in the training as well. So from that training, as I said, the training itself is not a compulsory training. As far as those that would like to understand SHE files a lot more in depth and have a much better understanding of SHE files, I would highly recommend that you attend the training. If you are a safety professional that's been in the industry for a long time, but you might not have access to the relevant documentation that you would utilize to compile a professional SHE file, then obviously that's where I come in, and that's where I can help you guys. So I know a lot of the safety professionals, what they've been doing as well is that they've been chipping in together to buy the documentation from myself as a consultant. And then obviously they splitting the cost between them. So for example, two guys would say, okay, they're going at half, and they assisting each other to buy the file, and then they share the material with each other thereafter. So these are the different ways that our people are also trying to pull together and come through to help each other within the process. So as I said, the training itself that I offer is a 2,000 Rand training. I used to have it at 2,500 Rand, but recently I've dropped the price to 2,000 Rand. Everybody needs to understand that I'm also a family man, and I also need to support my family. I'm also unemployed at the moment. So although a lot of it is to try and help and give back to the people as much as I possibly can, I also need to feed my family as well. So that's the reason why I've reduced my price to try and help everybody. from 2,500 to 2,000 Rand as well. Also, after attending the training, you'll be able to understand how to prepare a file, how to edit the documentation, which can then be resold to clients. The starting price for some files, especially a basic file, is around 2,500 Rand. That's a very basic file, but those fly off the shelves like hotcakes because it's a lot more for your very small contractor, especially on the civil side of things, that you can provide them with those kind of files at around 2,500 Rand. So that's the really starting price of a safety file. You can obviously easily earn from 5,000 Rand for a hard copy file as well, which is basically your 23 points index file, which I showed in the previous slides. And that's, as I said, is starting at around 5,000 Rand as a hard copy file. Now, the way you'd also make your money as a consultant or as somebody that would be providing these files to clients is that it's just preferable that you provide them the file in hard copy so that when they require any additional documentation or changes, etc., you can obviously bill them or charge them for those documents that you would then be providing for them. So like for an example, a risk assessment, I know a lot of the consultants are charging around 500 Rand per risk assessment, and that can assist you with regards to an additional income that can come through from those companies as well. So what I'm sharing with you guys now is really not too much. It's not new to most of you guys. A lot of people have been doing this for a long time already. I'm just giving you guys that do not have access to the source of the materials. I'm giving you guys access to the library that you can start utilizing and start providing the service to clients as well out there. Okay. So as I mentioned to you guys, so I'm selling the open file to anybody that's interested. As I said, if there's a couple of you guys that want to chip in together and buy the file from me, it's not a problem with me at all. So that's an option. So that's starting at 7,000 Rand for the 23 points index file. Those are all open copy files, which you can then obviously edit for your clients. So the SASL quality, and I'm saying SASL quality, which is the very high, as I mentioned, high profile or high intensely verified and checked file. That's the 27-point SHE file. That can be sold for a minimum, and you can check me out if you think I'm telling you a word of a lie. These files can sell easily from about 15,000 Rand because of how intense these guys are from SASL side, from Good Technology, when they are reviewing these files, and how much issues they give a lot of consultants when it comes to compilation of these files. So that quality file I also have, which I can sell to you guys as well. And that file will come in at only 15,000 as well. So with that file, as I mentioned, if you're charging a client 15,000 Rand just to compile one file, you will already make your money back. And again, if 3 of you guys want to chip in amongst yourselves and buy the file from me, that's also something that you could also do as well. Okay, so and then I also have single documentation that I can assist with. I've put it up at 200 Rand each, but I'm not really going to stick to that pricing. A lot of people contact me all the time for documents. I say sometimes sell them documents for 100 Rand. Sometimes I give them for free as well. So as we build relationships with people, we obviously assist each other through the process as we go along. So that's it on the safety file aspects and how you can go about doing it. Obviously, the advertising of your safety files is key. And that means that you would need to advertise your files to relevant clients, etc. And then obviously you would provide them with the files thereafter. If you need any additional support, I can assist as well with regard to that, on any additional support on the safety files. If you need me to assist with reviewing of a file before you send it off to a customer, especially if it's one of your first files that you are doing, then I can also assist you guys with that. I won't charge you just to do a quick review of your file for you. Normally it takes me about an hour as I speed read through the documentation as well. So about an hour and a half, I will also assist from my side with regards to the reviewing of your file before you submit it to a customer. Okay, so that's it on the safety files. I'm going to just quickly go into the health and safety systems quickly. So everybody knows that there's the new OSH bill that's in circulation at the moment, and it's been out for comment, public comment. Nobody knows whether these aspects are going to be approved as it stands at the moment. But let me just go through a few of the aspects that might interest a few of you guys, and the reason why I felt that there seems to be a need for this. So let me just briefly share with you. So in the explanation of that is that the OSH bill might be promulgated within the next year or so. I think Carol Mtets is also here from the Department of Labor. She can also maybe chip in at the end for the Q&A part if she's heard anything new in this regards. I haven't heard any new rumblings on the changes on the proposed OSH bill, but maybe somebody else has heard something on this issue that we can quickly discuss as well. So the reason why I'm bringing up this OSH bill and why is it important is because there's a few aspects that have come in that changes things quite a lot within the safety fraternity, and I'm going to explain it to you guys now. So what I've mentioned, that every company is to have a system and not a policy like before. So there is a possibility to make huge sums of money for those that are implementing systems for companies. Most companies do not have a health and safety system. Many have SHE files for their work that they perform. And we know many of us have been providing SHE files for customers for many, many years now. And many of these customers have never bothered on to get a safety system in place because it's never been a legal requirement for that as well. So yeah, so the next is the new pertaining to the bill. As I mentioned, is that the policy will be replacing the system will be replacing the policy. So this is just an insert from the OSH bill. If you want, I can share this with you guys as well. Afterwards, I will share the bill. If you have not seen the bill, if you don't believe me that this is an extract from the bill itself. The first part of it mentions that by the insertion after the definition of safe, this is under definitions, it speaks about the following definitions: safety management system or health and safety management systems. It means a coordinated comprehensive set of interrelated information pertaining to the policy. So the second part speaks about the substitution of section 7. Now, if you remember, section 7 speaks about the company policy. The current OSH Act speaks about the policy that a company needs to have in place. But with the proposed OSH bill that's coming into that may be coming into effect soon, it basically replaces the requirement for the policy, and it now requires companies to have a health and safety management system. So it says the substitution of section 7 of the Act 85 of 1993. Section 7 says the following section is hereby substituted for section 7 of the Principal Act. And what does it say? It says health and safety management system. Okay. Under section 7.1, it says that the chief inspector may direct an employer or group of employers in writing to develop and implement a health and safety management system. Now, many people will say, okay, the law is not indicating that everybody must have a health and safety management system. It is clearly saying that the chief inspector may direct. But we had a similar scenario with regards to the policy, where it indicated that a company may have a policy in place. But everybody knows that this is something that's been enforced amongst the industry for many, many years now, that you work for on a company site, etc. You're working for clients, and everybody required you to have a company policy, whether it be in your file or displayed, etc. All right. The next section speaks on under 7.2 says a directive under subsection 1 shall be accompanied by guidelines concerning the contents of the health and safety management system concerned. Now, obviously, we've seen that the Department of Labor has been issuing a lot of guidelines recently to assist in the industry, because there's been a lot of ambiguity amongst people not knowing what to do as far as the acts are concerned with regard to the new regulations that's been coming into play. If you remember on the construction regulations as well, that's come out recently, there's been guidelines that have been shared. So I am leaning onto the notion that there will be similar guidelines that will be shared with everybody once this bill becomes legislation. And then afterwards, obviously, we would understand what are the minimum criteria that the department is expecting everybody to have as far as a safety or health and safety management system is concerned. Now, what can I offer to assist? What can I offer to the industry? So I have in my possession an EPCM contractor aligned system, which I also had a lot to play with regard to the development of that system. I'm not going to say that I developed that system on my own, because that would be a lie, but I would say a large component of that system was developed by myself. So I have that system. That system in itself can be sold to a relevant company, especially a company that is looking to get into the space of the EPCM engineering, procurement, construction management space. Maybe moving on from a fabrication contractor, and they want to start managing companies or contracts. I have a system available. This system can be sold for around 40,000 Rand. With implementation, it can be sold to clients as well for an additional 25,000 Rand for that system. So you can roughly, I would say to you that you can look at around 50 to 60,000 Rand that it would cost a company to purchase a system like this and to implement a system like this. Okay, so implementation obviously is quite a lengthy process. It can take you anything up to a month to actually compile a proper system. That's why it becomes quite a costly affair. And so for that, the implementation cost can run up until 70, 80,000 Rand just for one system that would be implemented. So from my side, what I can do to assist the guys, you can see I've cut my cost quite low on the system. I'm looking at 25,000 Rand that I could sell the system to anybody that is interested in buying the system. I've already had a few buyers already on the current system that I'm discussing with you, and they obviously in turn are reselling it off to other clients as well. Next, I have a mechanical Contractor SHE system, which can be sold to a company at around 25,000 Rand. With implementation cost, as I've mentioned, it can run up to 40 to 50,000 Rand because of the time aspect that would be spent in implementing the system. And implementation is not only a matter of editing documents and changing logos, it also entails training the people on the system so that they can in turn run the system, because you're not just there to implement a system and leave the company and you're gone. You would also assist them with regards to consultation, additional consultation costs that you can charge them for, as well as any other additional support that they may need. You can then sign them up with a retainer as well. So this system as well, I'm also selling that system for 25,000 Rand. which can also then be sold to companies, as I've mentioned. The next one that I have in my possession as well is an ISO 45001 aligned system. This is a complete ISO 45001 system with all the relevant documentation. Obviously, additional documentation would be like your company policy documentation and those specific documents that you would obviously, as a consultant, have to assist the company if they do not have company policy documentation, etc. in place. You can then provide those documents to them as well for a cost. So this system itself, I've said that it can be sold for 35,000 Rand and an additional 50,000 Rand to implement. So this system alone on itself, by itself, excuse me, you're looking at around 85,000 Rand that you could charge a company to implement a ISO 45001 system. You know, many of the companies were 18,001 accredited, and quite a few of them obviously have already started moving over to ISO 45001 because of their transition period that they gave. So I think majority, if not all companies, would have already been moved over to the ISO 45001. But there's a lot of companies that would want to come in that you guys could assist them with to get them ISO 45001 accredited or aligned, as well as get them accredited and ready for their accreditations as well. Okay, so that system, I'm selling the system for 35,000 Rand. And I can tell you now that between you and I, it is a steal, because these systems, to buy these systems alone cost you around 45,000 Rand just to purchase them from consultants. Okay, so I also have an ISO 9001 system, a complete system which can be sold to clients as well for 30,000 Rand. And then you have an additional implementation cost of around 50,000 Rand. And then obviously that's also negotiable with you. The more you do these systems, the easier it will start becoming for you guys. And then obviously it becomes a lot cheaper on your side to compile the file, the systems as well. So it becomes a lot more cost efficient on your side once you are doing this for a while. Can you please just mute your mics, guys? Please mute your mic for me. Chat. Thank you. Okay, so this system for me that I'm selling this ISO 9001 system. This system is costing 40,000 Rand. Now, the two main systems, if you have to look at it from a company perspective that wants to be approved, especially when it comes to your engines, your Cecils, your Astrons, your Saprefs, etc. A lot of these are requiring contractors to have a minimum of a ISO 9001, and a few of them are also starting to gear up into the ISO 45001 as well. So the biggest seller for me that you guys would also be selling quite easily is the ISO 9001, because many companies look at it as an entry to get them into the factories or into these petrochemical plants. So they would prefer to go the route of getting the ISO 9001 first, and then a lot of them will then start looking at getting the ISO 45001 system as well. So these are the systems that I have currently available. As I mentioned, with the relevant prices as well. Something that is important to understand when it comes to systems, it's not something that I would really advise people that are, let's say, candidates or juniors in the industry that have not been around for quite a few years. You need to have some experience on systems, and you need to understand it when you are developing it as well. So what I would also suggest is that if you are purchasing the system for implementation purposes, it would be good that you attend an implementation course on ISO 45001, and you can also go for ISO 9001. But the advantage now at ISO is that if you've attended one of them, it's like almost like you've attended them, or especially the ISO 9000, 45, and 14001. They are very, very similar in how you would set them up as well. So implementation, awareness, implementation, and then you would be a lot better to implement these kind of systems for customers. All right, so I'm going to open it up now to any Q&As, any questions that anybody would like to ask pertaining to this discussion this evening. And yeah, please feel free to ask your questions so that we can discuss it and we can see how we can help each other in the process. So just before I open it up to any Q&As, Q's and A's from my side, just for everybody's understanding, we know that the current situation in the country is quite grim at the moment as far as work is concerned. So where we can assist each other, where we can support each other, I'm here to help. A lot of guys that have been contacting me recently for safety files and for systems as well have been asking me if I can assist them with some form of a payment plan. I have been helping people out. I've also reduced my cost quite drastically as to what I was expecting to ask for some of these systems. But I understand that it's not about greed and about making millions of rands from this. It's just to help people to be better equipped, give them the relevant information, the documentation that can assist them to start fishing on their own and providing for their own families as well. Many people have been asking me, how do I become a consultant? Well, the key to becoming a consultant obviously is competence, but also you need to have the relevant documentation, because companies are buying your information from you, and that's what they basically need from you, is your documentation to assist them to get themselves approved as a vendor, or get their safety file approved so that they can start working and earning a living for their families as well. So there's also some additional stuff that we're working on in Durban at the moment. I don't want to speak too much about it as to what the plans are within Engine and Cecil, etc., on what we're trying to work out with regards to them as well, to help the contractors through the process. So without any further ado, I'd like to open it up. If there's anyone that would like to ask any questions on anything, please feel free, and we can just discuss it between us.
Fabian, there's just two questions on the chat from Carol. When we buy 7,000 files, do we get a soft copies or flash disk with the file?
Yes, thank you, Carol. Thanks, Joan. Yes, so what happens is that all the systems that I currently have in place, the EPCM one, for example, is around 15 gigabytes of information that I'm sharing with you guys. This is PowerPoint presentations, every document that you can think about from your system perspective. When it comes to the safety files, I provide a Google Drive link to give you access to the drive that will allow you to access and download all the relevant documentation from the index, which is clearly and very nicely set up for you guys, so that it's something that you can never go wrong with. All your relevant documentation is in relevant numbering sequence according to the index, and the documentation is also numbered within those folders as well to assist you guys for easy access. If you want me to send you a digital copy on a flash drive as well, I can also arrange for that. That's not a problem. I can post it through Postnets, and you guys can also collect it from there as well. So that is an option if you want it that way. But the way I've been working now for the past few years is that I share the link from my Google Drive, and then the person that has the link can access it and download the relevant material for the file itself. Thank you, Carol, for that question. Next question. When one buys a system,
The
how
other one
long?
was, will the attendees of the safety file training receive a proof of certificate of attendance?
Yes, so the proof of attendance is issued to all attendees that attend my trainings. Well, so the safety file, SHE file training, everybody receives a certificate, as well as for the incident investigation, the masterclass training course as well. So yes, everybody receives a certificate for that training.
Then you got another one. When one buys a system, how long do you give the support to perfect their consulting skills, and do you charge for mentoring them?
Look, I would charge normally to consult, depending on how much information and how much consulting is going into the process. But if it is consulting on a 1 hour, 2 hour discussion or assistance with regards to assisting the consultant to brush up on their skills, then no, I will not charge them for that. As long as they've bought a system from me, I will definitely not charge them for that additional support from my side. Any other questions?
Evening, Fabian.
Hi, Martin, go ahead.
Just one question. If you want to generate build up a file for a client or a small business company, what time period are you looking to generate that to generate the safety file from start to finish? Then, what's your time period? A week, 2 weeks, or something like that?
Very good question, Watson. It takes me from the evening, 8 o'clock, once my kids are in bed. It takes me from 8 o'clock till 6 o'clock in the morning the next day for me to compile a file. So it will not take you a week to compile the file. The files are quite easy. They're nicely set out. It's not too difficult to edit. You know, it sounds like a sneaky route out of this process, but it is what it is. Not many clients actually rigorously go through all the documentation with a fine-tooth comb, but the documentation that I provide to you guys is top quality documentation and from a very good system. So your editing process would be to edit the company information, the client information, as well as the logos, and then there's information pertaining to like the CEO or the managers, etc., that would need to approve the documentation at the bottom of the relevant documents that you're going to provide to them. So as I explained to you, I know I'm waffling a bit on the topic. For me, it takes me less than 12 hours to compile a file. As I said, that's from 8 o'clock in the evening till 6 o'clock in the morning. That's file ready to go get printed, placed into the file, into the relevant dividers. So that will take you about another hour, I would say hour and a half. So you're looking at around 12 hours for you to compile a safety file. And that'll get you 5,000 Rand for your 12 hours of work. Any other questions, guys? Okay, let me see. Does your material give a consultant the authority or power to rate a company by giving them stars like the way NOSA does, or certificates of compliance specifically for those who want to apply for contracts or tenders? Okay, so very good question as well here, Carol. The file that I provide is a basic file. When I'm saying basic, I mean it's basic in the sense that it's not a project specific or client specific file. Now, what that means is that you'd obviously have to still edit the SHE plan and documentation pertaining to that from the client specification. And that's going to come with a little bit more practice and experience. That will be one of the key documentation that takes you the most time, is the compilation of the SHE plan, especially from the client specification. Now, the SHE plan that I provide in the file itself is done at a SASL level, meaning that the quality of the SHE plan is very, very good. The only thing about it is that you would obviously have to read through and understand the requirements of the client's SHE specification, so that you can ensure that the SHE plan is aligned with the SHE spec. Now, you would have to look at some specifics when it comes to what is the client specifically looking for. And I cover this information as well within the training that I provide for the SHE file development. Some aspects that are important to understand and note when it comes to how do you edit your SHE plan according to the client specification. That's a very, very important aspect, and one that can prevent your file from being approved. Many safety specialists will focus 90% of their attention on the SHE file review, will be on the SHE plan itself, because that's one of the key legal required documents within the file. And then obviously your fall protection plans and those things that I also provide in the files are also some important documentation as well. So there's emergency response plans in there. There's risk assessments, baseline risk assessments in the file, etc. And all of these documentation, as I've mentioned, are done at the highest level of SHE file compilations. I'm doing SHE files now, I think since 2009. I've been doing files, and my files have never been rejected. So that's what I'm saying to you, that the quality that you're going to get is of a very high caliber. As far as rating your is concerned, what happens is normally when you are compiling a SHE file, especially if you're compiling a SHE file and you do not have the client specification, and it's for a job that a customer tenders for, and they just want to show the customer that they can do a proper professional SHE file, then obviously you're going to provide them with the straightforward file that's in there, just adding in their company logo and information, etc. And then you would obviously indicate to your client that the SHE plan is generic. It has not yet been aligned to their SHE specification. On award of the project, it will obviously then be redone according to their requirements in the SHE specification. So sometimes clients just want to see an example of the quality of a SHE file that a company can provide. And based on that that they provide, they can then judge and say, okay, this company is a professional company or not, and they can do the job or not. So that's just like their barometer that they would utilize to see if a company can provide a proper SHE file. Now, important, this topic that I just thought of as well now, you know, many companies are struggling out there, especially fabrication contractors as well, that are struggling to get in because they cannot compile a proper professional safety file. And a lot of the consultants that are charging them for files, especially the big companies, are charging the guys monies that are way above their budgets, 15,000, 20,000 for a file, and they cannot afford those. So that's where you guys obviously can come in and start assisting these SMMEs to provide them with a file. You're making your money, you're making a reasonable amount of money from them, and they also have the ability to get their foot into the door. Because as I'm saying to you guys, that the quality that you're providing them from these documents that I would be selling is of a extremely high caliber. So many clients or many clients out there would not be able to shoot down their files based on the professionalism of the documentation. They could have certain pedantics that they could be looking at that they might want you to fix, but that comes with the with the territory as well. That comes in, it's part of the game that you every now and again, you will get a difficult client that will send the file back with a few comments. You go back, you look at the comments that they've shared, you fix the comments, and you send it back to them, and your file is then approved. So that is sometimes the back and forth that happens. And I've mentioned Cecil a few times in this evening, but they are one of the more difficult guys out there in the industry as far as getting your file approved. If you've worked with them, you will understand me exactly what I'm saying. Their SHE specialists can be quite pedantic on their requirements as well. Okay, so anybody else? Let me just see another one. When you bought the ISO system and sold it to a company, do you have to get independent auditor to certify the total compliance? Good question as well, Samuel. So yes, the document, guys, please mute your mics for me, please. The system itself is accreditation ready, meaning that when you implement the system, you would have to obviously conduct an audit, a self-audit on the system. I can provide you guys with a template for the audit as well. I won't charge you for that. And then what you would then do is you would arrange a gap analysis audit that will come in from a third party company that can come in and conduct the gap analysis on you with the company. And then from there, if there's any findings that they've identified from the gap analysis, you would then be given an opportunity to fix them. And then you can call the same company back again to come in and do the certification audit as well. So yeah, that's a good question, Samuel, but that would be the process that is normally followed as far as certification is concerned. You would always conduct a gap analysis first before you call the company in to come in and conduct a certification audit on your system. Okay, so next question I'm reading here from Carol. As the Department of Labor, we do not issue clients with certificates of compliance with occupational health and safety. Does the file also include those certificates or not? Because we always turn them back and refer them to the consultants. As the Department of Labor, we do not issue clients with certificate of compliance with occupational health and safety. Please, Carol, can you come online and just explain this to us, please? Because I'm trying to understand this point.
Thank you, Mr. Buckley. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Carol.
My question actually is based on the fact that we regularly receive requests from clients who want to apply probably for tender or contracts or for whatever reasons they need. And most of them come with specification, and one of the specification will be they must come with a proof that they comply with the Occupational Health and Safety Act from Department of Labor.
Yeah.
So there's no way we can confirm compliance ourselves.
Yes.
Unless we come to a person's workplace and do an inspection, a walkthrough, and an audit. So some, you find that these are new companies, like you mentioned, the SMMEs.
Yes.
They have not yet operated, but they want an opportunity to get a contract.
Yes.
So what we do is to send them back to say, go and look for consultants who can assist you with that. You see, so my question was to check with you if the system that you are selling or the safety file that you are providing, does it also have provision for that to also assist these clients when we send them back to you guys to say you can go and audit them or assist them to put a system, a health and safety system in place and then issue them with that certificate? That is actually what the question meant.
Okay, Carol. So it's quite difficult, Carol, to give them a certificate of compliance, because the reason I'm saying that is because what are we basing the criteria on? If it is a legal compliance audit that can be conducted on the SHE file or on the system to prove that it is compliant, then yes, that can be arranged. But there's certain companies that are specialists that do these, like your Legricons and the like. that can provide a legal compliance certificate to indicate that the company is compliant to the OSH Act, Basic Conditions of Employment Acts, etc. So that can be arranged. But as far as a consultant is concerned, as to what we would provide to a SMME to indicate that they are compliant, we can also assist them with regards to an audit that can be conducted on their relevant documentation and on the system, and we can provide them with a record that the system was audited and verified as compliant or not, or non-compliant as well. So yes, that can be arranged as well. The next one here, that was a question that was asked, is this not ISO 45001 certificate or just a safety system?
No,
Sean?
sorry, Fabs.
No problem.
No, sorry, Fabian. I was just trying to respond to the question that you answered above with Carol. Is that when they say compliance, is it not when you 45,000 cert gives you compliance?
Yes.
Or is it just the system? That's basic compliance that I know.
Yes, 100%. So yes, we all know the NOSA systems would have the star gradings of the 3-star, 4-star, 5-star gradings, which indicated a compliance or a lesser compliance of a company. The system that we're running is not aligned to a NOSA system, although it can. I do also have the old NOSA system if there is still people out there interested in the old NOSA system. As well, I can assist you guys with that. But when it comes to ISO 45001, if your company is certified by third-party accredited company like your City and Guilds or your TUVs, your DQSs, your DECRAs and those companies, then or even SABs as well, then your company is already seen as a compliant company. Now, you find that a lot of the clients, as I've mentioned, are starting to go this route of asking for ISO 45001 compliant system and certified systems, especially when you're going into your higher tiers of your company. When you're starting to now look at your CIDB gradings and those things on a much more senior level, from like your 7, 8 and onwards, they are starting to ask for an ISO 45001 system. Now, if you want to as well, I have good contacts with the guys that can assist with the certification, and they give me quite a good pricing on that as well. If those that are interested in going the full route of getting your company certified, or also to assist clients to get them certified, I can also assist you guys with that as well. So once you have your ISO 45001, you are basically seen as a forerunner or blue chip company that you can ensure that there is a high quality of safety from your company's side, and your system is well oiled and it's running from a proper machine. So yeah, that's it on your ISO 45001 as well. Anything else that anybody would like to discuss, please, before we close?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Fabian, do you mention now the fall protection plan and stuff? Past experience, I've only got an attendance certificate for fall protection plan training. So in the file that is there, as you said, how do you prove to whoever that you have training on fall protection plan to generate that procedure for them?
Okay, good question, Martin. What a lot of clients do is that they allow for somebody else to assist with regards to the fall protection plan development. So I do have a fall protection plan developers training course as well, that you could utilize my appointment in there. The only problem that sometimes comes into the equation is that some clients want the fall protection planner to come to the site physically to conduct the risk assessment and to look at the area where the guys are going to be working, etc. So that creates a bit of a challenge as far as that is concerned. But if clients normally ask for that requirement, I've only ever experienced one company asking for it. which was Hewlett's actually here in Pietermaritzburg or in Dalton. And I had to go to the site and conduct the inspection. In those cases, you can ask the client if they're willing to pay for that. The reason I'm saying that is because majority of the companies do not force the fall protection plan developer to come out to the site. They normally say that based on the specification information that is shared, based on the scope of works, based on the bill of quantity that has been shared with regard to the company, that the fall protection itself with the risk assessment will suffice for that file to be approved. So I'm speaking openly and honestly with you as far as the fall protection part is concerned. Many, as I said, many clients are not finicky when it comes to this issue. But if you do get a company that is, then you'd obviously have to provide them with a training of a person that has completed the fall protection plan developer training course. And I normally assist companies with that as well. I provide them with my certificates and I ask them to appoint me for that appointment. And clients normally accept that. It's not a problem.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, guys, before we close?
One more from Samuel, Fabian. Between ISO 45,000 and 9,000, which one can you prioritize?
Okay, good question as well, Samuel. As I explained, majority of the clients, the minimum criteria for you to enter the door as far as being a contractor on their vendors list is an ISO 9001. So that's why I've mentioned to you guys that most companies prioritize having their ISO 9001 done first. The good thing about the ISO 9001, as I mentioned, it's very, very similar to the ISO 45001. There are a few differences as far as safety documentation, etc. are concerned, but that's why you get integrated management systems that combine ISO 45, 9000, and 14001, and those systems are quite easy to integrate them between the three ISOs, excuse me. So again, going back to your initial question, which one would you prioritize? Definitely ISO 9001 would be the priority for implementation. Okay.
Okay. Just a quick one, Fabian. Like I said, I asked, is it which one to prioritize between ISO 45001 and 9001, of which is quality? Working with SMEs or maybe a level 3 CIDB contractors rating, or maybe 5. Obviously now they need some surety to get bigger tenders on their quality standard.
Yes.
So us as professionals, okay, we do quality there and there, but we can't say we know more. Yeah. Is it advisable to have maybe an implementation course as a backup for the 9001?
Yeah, thanks, Samuel, for that question. As I mentioned previously, I would always suggest that the guys do an implementation awareness and implementation course on the ISO 9001, the 45, and also the 14 if they want to go that route as well on the environmental aspect. It's important that you conduct that training. Some people obviously do not need the training because of the experience that they have working within a SHE environment. But those that do not, it is advisable to do the awareness and implementation for ISO 9001, that's for sure. That will definitely assist you guys a lot.
Okay, no, thank you, man.
Thank you, Samuel. Okay, so I have another question here. If you are a consultant, do you include yourself as the safety officer in the SHE file? It's a good question as well. Yes, you can. When it comes to consulting, as a safety officer, when you're looking at your appointments as a safety officer, as a what's it again, your 8.5 safety officer, right? It's difficult for you to be in the safety file if you are not presence on site. If you are not going to be working on site as a safety officer, then it's fruitless having you appointed in the file just because you need to have the file approved for that specific company. What I would suggest that if you are assisting them on a consultancy basis, that they should still have a safety officer available. If a client accepts having a part-time safety person on the project site that can come in maybe twice in a month to conduct an inspection and an audit, etc., and the client is not finicky with regard to that, and it's a low-risk project, then yes, you can be appointed for that project to assist in that regards, and you can be the safety officer. But again, this is like a 1 in a million shot that you have these cases. In the majority cases, as a safety consultant, you will not really have yourself appointed for the project itself, because you are all over the show. If you're working on various projects, or if you're working from home remotely, you cannot be working from home and be the safety officer for that project. I know Carol is on here, she must be pulling her hair out here now, but she understands as well that this is the current reality of what many companies are faced with today, is that safety officers are appointed in the file, but they are either never on site, or they are appointed initially just from a paper perspective, and they actually never ever work on the project site themselves. So this is the current issues that we have within the industry that we need to iron out. But just to answer your question, Nhlelo, sorry for the pronunciation, Shongwe, it's very, very difficult for you to be appointed as a safety officer for that job, unless you are working on the project site itself, or you're coming in as often as possible. Then it's not really advisable for you to be appointed as the safety officer for that project site. It's also hard because, remember, as a SACP CMP approved safety professional, whether you're a safety officer, a manager, or an agent, you can lose your registration with SACP CMP if it is found that you are doing things that are unseemly, and that you are putting yourself in a position of disrepute, or the council into disrepute as well, where somebody can actually request for you to be removed from the SACP CMP, and that will stop you from practicing in the construction industry as a safety professional. So it's very dangerous to go down that route to say, okay, I accept the appointment, and then you're not on the project, or you're not working at all on that project. Because if something goes wrong, unfortunately, it is your name and your reputation that's at stake, and that you can lose your license to practice as a safety professional. So that's the dangerous, or the danger behind that, going that route. Because you don't know, if you're not there, what they're doing on that project site. That's the scary part about it. Okay, any other questions before we close?
Yes, Fabian, it's Carol on that note.
Okay, Carol, go
I
ahead.
just wanted to check if your company does assist people with the registration with SACP CMP, because you just mentioned now what actually I wanted to ask earlier, that with application for construction work permits, we want health and safety professionals to also their credentials, their qualification and stuff to be shown in the safety file.
Yes.
So do you assist or help people to prepare for exams or to be registered, so that when those files come to us, we don't return them back with people who are not qualified and not recognized by SACP CMP? Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. So yes, in the past, I was helping companies and personnel to get registered with SACP CMP. It's not something that I've been doing for the past 2 years or so, but I can assist the guys with people that are offering that service that can help. If I have a few guys that are interested in doing it, maybe in the evenings we can consider it, and I can cover that as part of a training with the guys as well. I've done a few videos as well that you can watch on YouTube If you search Fabian Buckley's SACP CMP, there's 2 videos that I've shared that helps the people to understand the process of application, what they need to be aware of when they are applying as well as the point system that SACP CMP uses to either approve the individual or shoot them down. As far as assistance is concerned with regards to a file being submitted to the Department of Labor, we can assist to ensure that that file is rigorously checked before it goes through to the department and it is shot down. So yes, from our side, we can also assist any companies that are wanting to get that reviewed before it goes to the Department of Labor and it gets shot down. So yes, we can assist with that as well. Okay, there's another question here. I think we'll take the last question or 2. So guys, can we share contact numbers to see if we can assist each other in putting money together for the system? Okay, Samuel, no problem. I'll allow for those sharing of contact numbers, etc. as well, for all those that are interested in helping each other. What you can also do for me, I'm going to share my number. For those that do not have my number, I'm going to share it now, 804-5838. And what I will do is you can send me a WhatsApp. If you are interested in the safety file or the system, I can hook you up with others that are interested as well. So please share share a message with me to indicate that you are interested in, for example, the SHE file, the 23-pointer or the 27-pointer SASL file, or the systems, which system you're interested in, and then I can hook you guys up with the people that are interested in the same thing. And then, as I said, you can collaborate amongst each other, put your monies together, and you can buy whatever systems you would like. As I've mentioned, whatever other documentation you require, if there's no work really from my side, a lot of the time I provide the stuff for free. I will not charge for that information as well. If it's something additional that is not in your SHE file that a company is asking for, but it's very, very seldom that happens. So I see some numbers being posted in the chat. I'll allow the chat for everybody to share. I think Moifo, just indicate your phone number on WhatsApp, and then just indicate what you are interested in purchasing, so that the others that are interested can contact you, and then you can chip in together and buy the systems. And that way it will make it much more cheaper, affordable for everybody. So thank you, everybody. I really appreciate your time this evening. It's now over the time. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry if I was Sean. I just want to say, with regards to 45,000.
Yeah.
When working with the 45,000 to implement it, clients, as soon as just to thing with Samuel, if you don't mind me just asking or telling Samuel which one I prefer. 45,000 is better because safety professionals, when you go to a client to 45,000, they actually only look for that certificate, to be quite honest. Once you got the certificate, then your safety file, they know your system is up to spec and it's running well. You wouldn't get just a 45,000. And that's a good system to actually need to sell as safety professionals, because once you are up and running, the rest will all follow in.
No, I hear you. I agree with you. I agree with you, Juan, that when from our side as safety professionals, yes, we rely heavily on those. If we are applying and we have an ISO 45001 accredited system, then it makes our lives a lot more easier from a client's perspective. But what I was referring to from what Samuel was asking with regard to the ISO 9001 is that most clients are asking for 9001 as a minimum criteria for you to even be considered as a vendor on their list. They have not been pushing it as yet for the 45,001 because it's still a fairly new system. But ISO 9001 is still heavily required, especially in the engineering construction field and with regards to the fabrication as well. But another one that's also very, very important is the ISO 3834 Part 2.
Yes.
which is
Yes.
also vital. If I know with Cecil and Engine and Separate, if you do not have an
Everywhere.
ISO,
Yeah.
ISO 3834 Part 2, they will not even
Right.
consider you as a vendor. So those are the, I've just thrown another one in there, which is the 3834 Part 2, as
Correct.
also part of it for the fabrication. And then obviously it's quality aligned.
Yes.
But
That's part E of your system of ISO 9001.
correct. So yes, so that's why it's so important that they look at that first, and then they start looking at safety criteria and documentation. I know, for an example, Joan, if you look at, for an example, I'll give you Cecil as a good example. Cecil still allows for a NOSA 3-star as a minimum criteria for you to be accepted on their vendors list. Or even with their SHE file approval. When you're doing a subcontractor or contractor file, they still accept a NOSA 3-star. So that's just showing you that they're not yet pushing with regards to the ISO 45001 as yet. And as I said, I know that they're working towards that, but as it stands at the moment, you can still be approved with a NOSA 3-star system from Cecil's side. All right. So thank you, everybody.
I fully understand. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time and effort. I look forward to speaking to you guys sometime soon. And thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.